Rev up your engines! JJ, who says, all new cars are ticking time bombs, so saying get a Toyota doesn't mean what it used to mean. Yes, that is true. The complexity that's in modern cars, getting your front end aligned can cause problems, and then you have to have that system reset. Yes, they're very complicated. But still, Toyota makes the best cars for the money for what you're going to get. If they're a ticking time bomb because of all this technology, yes. But something like, oh, your adaptive cruise control doesn't work or something, that's what might happen to Toyota. Let's say you got a Fiat Chrysler. Well, hey, there the engine might explode, the transmission might explode, fall apart and leave you with a car you can't even drive. Over the years, I got customers with old Toyotas, old Hondas, even old Fords, and sometimes lots of things are broken, but they still go down the road and you can drive them. So maybe that's all we're going to be able to hope for anymore. Dr. Ankletaker says, what are your thoughts on a Nissan 350Z or Infiniti G35 for a first car? They have very low resale value, you lose a lot of money, but they can be perfectly fine cars then. The problem with those cars are people beat the heck out of them that buy them, plus if they're made after the Nissan-Renault merger, the quality went downhill. I would never buy one of those used with 80 or 90,000 miles because it's probably on its last legs and what you expect of the vehicle, because they are extremely fast, fun cars to drive. But on the other end, I got to fix these things as they age. And often when I show the customer what's wrong or what it's going to cost, they get rid of the car because they'll say, I don't want to spend $5 grand in that thing. So they don't. So you don't pay a lot of money for a used one. I wouldn't even buy a used one, to tell you the truth. Skater Stan says, can heat affect my car battery? Do you need to drive it to charge it sometimes? If you don't drive it much, yes. The worst thing for batteries are extreme heat and extreme cold. The extreme heat can just make them overheat, wear out faster, and the extreme cold, they lose a certain percentage of their charging ability when they're cold. If you don't drive it much, yeah, you'd want to recharge it every once in a while because they're made for car batteries to start the car, recharge. Start the car, recharge. If they just sit, they don't store it all that well. That's why people that buy boat batteries, they get those deep cycle ones because maybe they're only using the boat 15, 20 times a year and it's just sitting there. So you need a deep cycle battery that costs more and can last longer for that. Cars' batteries are made to start, recharge, start, recharge. So if you don't drive it much, yeah, you'd want to charge it up every once in a while. Big Michi 318 says, can I swap out a 2.7 for a 3.5 and a Dodge Charger 06? Anything can be done if you've got time and money and patience. But realize that your modern cars are all around the engine and the transmission, computer software, sensors, and it's not like when I was a kid that you could take any other engine out, pretty much swap it in, and it would go. Maybe you change the carburetor. Sometimes you didn't have to change the carburetor. But today, it's an involved job. And I have more problems with people bringing me a car that doesn't run right. And I'll say, okay, what's going on here? Something looks weird. And they'll say, well, we put a 7-year-old newer engine in the car. I said, you can't do that. You can't unless you know a pro who can reprogram computers. And even then, sometimes it won't work right with the software. And you just have to start from scratch. So you're best to stick with stock with any modern car and not mess around with putting other engines in them. Because I see the other end when you try to fix them and then nobody can fix them. T. Jones, would you buy an older Honda CR-V with 150,000 miles for about $3 grand? Well, I'd try to pay less, but shoot, those things can last forever. I got a customer, the one, and she drove it from Houston way out to West Texas to Big Bend. And she was driving at 100-something miles an hour some of the way. Now, the speed limit's like 85 when you get out there, so people do drive fast. And, I mean, that old thing would creak and it would shake. Hey, made it there and back, you know? Those things are pretty well made, those older ones. I would try to pay less, but they could run an awful long time. They were pretty solid built vehicles. Jay Anderson says, what are your thoughts on the reliability of the 2013 Shelby GT500 drivetrain? That was a really over-engineered car because it can go over 200 miles an hour. That said, if you drive it over 200 miles a lot, it's going to wear out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's the same thing with, let's take a good Japanese motorcycle. You buy Suzuki Gixxer, say, 750 Gixxer, right? They're screamers. They can go really fast. They're so over-engineered. If you only drive 100 miles an hour in those things, it might last forever if you don't wreck it. But if you drive the limit of the vehicle, yeah, it's going to wear out faster. So it depends on how you take care of it. If you had that Shelby, and let's say you rarely drove over 100 miles an hour, that thing will probably last forever. But if you push it as hard as you can, of course, like anything else, it's going to wear out. Ozguy says, I think Toyota owes Scotty a brand new top-of-the-range Lexus for PR work. I'm sure Toyota's watching. Well, I don't know if they're watching, but To tell you the truth, my wife likes her 2002 ES300 Lexus that I paid $3 grand for with 60,000 miles. I showed her some of the new ones. She says I wouldn't be seen dead in one of those with those scowling mouths they have in the front. She actually likes her car better. Hey, it's only got 77,000 miles on it. Might be the last car we ever buy unless it gets wrecked or something. She wouldn't even drive it. She said she thinks they're ugly. She wouldn't want one. The last one she would want was one that's 5 or 8 years old that still had the nice front, didn't have that horrible scowling piece of junk that these ridiculous designers are working on. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.